Most Decembers, I think we expect the season to announce itself. We look for the obvious signs: snow falling, bare trees, wide open scenes of whiteness that clearly say, this is winter. And when those things don't appear, it's easy to assume December hasn't really shown up yet. Actually, I take a different approach. Much of December passes quietly in ways that don't ask to be noticed. There are many different Decembers in many different places, and if life and the holidays have us moving quickly, it's easy to miss them, no matter where we experience the season. I can sometimes miss it myself, especially when it's cold. Cold has a way of shortening my patience. It narrows my attention. I stop looking around and start thinking about staying warm. So the first thing I've learned about noticing small things in December has nothing to do with photography. It's staying outside long enough to see and photograph them. That usually means dressing more carefully and with good intention. Layers, usually wool. Warm, dependable gloves, always a hat. Not because it adds anything to my appearance, but because discomfort ends curiosity quickly. Once I'm cold, my attention turns inward, and the opportunities to make art diminish quickly. And I've found that December doesn't rush. If I want to notice it, I can't rush either. Not freezing to death for the sake of my art helps more than I care to admit. The second thing I've learned is even more practical. Many of December's details live close to the ground. Snow along the edge of dark water, a feather resting on glossy ice, the curve of a single stalk of grass that didn't quite disappear after the last snow. Seeing those things often means getting low, sometimes literally down on all fours. I've learned to make that easier by wearing knee pads. It's certainly not stylish, but it removes hesitation, and when it's simple to stop and look closely, I'm more likely to do it. None of this guarantees better photographs. It just keeps me from deciding too quickly that there's nothing worth stopping for. The larger shift, though, isn't physical at all. It's mental. December doesn't open up when I look wider. It opens up when I stop assuming I already know what it looks like. Instead of searching for grand scenes, I start paying attention to fragments. I stop waiting for something to feel complete. I narrow my focus and work closer to my subjects. I think small and I shoot tight. When I do that, things that would normally feel insignificant begin to hold their own. A frozen leaf doesn't need context. A faint curve in the snow doesn't need explanation. It's enough to notice that it's there and that it caught my attention. What I appreciate about December is that it doesn't insist on being seen. It doesn't decorate itself. There's plenty of that this month wherever we look. The more interesting details are there, whether we stop for them or not. That changes how I approach this month. Instead of looking for moments that announce themselves, I try to stay aware of what's already happening on a lower and slower level. I also reduce my expectations for something dramatic to occur, and then something small holds my attention longer than expected. And that pause is usually enough. That's when the image gets made. I don't think December hides its details. I think this month asks for a pace most of us don't naturally keep this time of year. When I slow down enough to meet December, something shifts, not dramatically, just enough to make me notice how easily I sometimes move past interesting things. That moment is usually where photographs begin for me in winter. I'm Ken Evans, a photographer from the Mid-Atlantic. Each week I make 1 or 2 videos about the intersection of black and white photography and life. If my work resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe and join me again here. And if you have thoughts or reactions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. I read them all, and they genuinely matter to me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week. And remember, black and white art is art for anywhere.